Hey guys, Rick here. And before we jump into the preview, I just wanted to let you know that there's a big Memorial Day promotion going on with Odds Checker right now. One lucky winner is going to win $500. That's right, 500 bucks. All you need to do is subscribe to Odds Checker on YouTube and comment on any video leading up to Memorial Day. That's it. That's how you get entered, and you can win 500 bucks for anything you want. Best of luck. Let's jump into the preview. Welcome in. This is your Odds Checker betting preview for this week's Charles Schwab Challenge. I'm Rick Gehman. That right there, Geoff Fienberg. And Geoff, we've got an event immediately after a major championship, but the ones with no sweat, the ones where you're holding a ticket on both of the guys in the playoff, those seem like the easy playoffs to get through.
Yeah, that was enjoyable. I almost just went with my girls for ice cream while they were playing the playoffs. Not actually, but part of me was like this, like I could if I wanted to. There's no sweat. Great event. I always say major championship golf is like a fetish for me, Rick, and that was another fantastic one. And looks like we got a loaded field this week at an event and a course that always seems to bring out a strong field.
Yeah, absolute staple on the schedule, and the quick trip from Tulsa to Fort Worth is not stopping any of the big names because Justin Thomas leads the way. He's in this field at 12-1, which if you want to get in on JT, maybe he goes on a run here. That's a number you're going to want to shop. He's 8-1 in some places, 12-1 in others. That's the same odds as Scotty Scheffler. You get Jordan Spieth, who has destroyed Colonial in his career, at 14-1, and then Colin Morikawa, Geoff, the only other golfer sub 20-1.
Yeah, so looking at these guys, Rick, I'm not kidding. Part of me is tempted to go back to JT. That would seriously alter my card construction. The fact that he hasn't withdrawn or is not withdrawing by clear indication, almost like you're getting a lot of hints almost from his camp. Like, no, he's just ready to go. That you almost get the vibe. Him and his team sat around and like it was a 10-second conversation. Like, no, I'm going to keep this wagon moving. The form, the results, this golf course, it honestly, the number, even the 12-1, it's a fair number for a guy who just won a major championship at 15-16. So I don't think it's crazy at all. I'm expecting almost a sub heater here before we hit the US Open for JT, and maybe we'll evaluate then.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I think because there are other big names in this field, it kind of keeps those JT odds in check because you get to the 20s and there's still some studs there. Victor Hovland at 20-1, Will Zalatoris, fresh off that playoff loss at 22, Max Homa, who's already won twice this season, at 28. Geoff, those are the names before we even get to what is seemingly the first gap on the board.
And I got to admit, out of the gate this morning, Rick, what caught my eye on this board, not necessarily something I was running to bet, but seeing Max Homa consensusly jump Sam Burns on the betting odds board. I respect the wins. I'm a huge Max Homa fan, despite missing all of the wins or being on the wrong side of, needing the guy who was chasing Max. That's something I'm not ready to accept. I'm just going to put that out there. I don't think I'm betting on either, though. Victor Hovland is a guy that really has my attention. I know when we talk, there's no shortage of nice words about Victor. Not an outstanding PGA championship, not a horrible one, probably a better one than if you said you liked Victor on Tuesday, Rick, the amount of like the replies on Twitter in our ecosystem, I've almost never seen anything like that before. If you were willing to say nice things about Victor and how the PGA championship setup could have possibly worked for him, despite it being a place we all thought he'd be great at Christmas. I do like Victor. If I want to bet Will Zalatoris, let's throw Mito Pereira in this. I've got to bring in some of my psychology minor from my college days because the stats are like, you can't just bet Will like blindly as much as I want to, because I do think there is some like mental aspect in trying to gauge where he might be at when making this wager. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I actually think of the three, like the Justin Thomas, Mito Pereira, Will Zalatoris, I think Will is the least likely to be affected by what we saw last week. I think that he hey, he got into a playoff. He made a great putt to get into a playoff. JT beat him in a playoff, and he gets to go back to Texas, feeling good about the state of his game. Didn't have to stay there and do all the winter obligations. I think this is a hungry Will Zalatoris.
I like hearing that, and as I've joked, won't take much to twist my arm to put me back on Will. Despite the field,
the other thing
or
with
the number,
Victor,
I should say.
Yeah, the other thing with Victor is for a guy who was supposed to chip himself out of the PGA Championship, gain strokes around the green, and now goes to maybe one of the best spots on tour for him, where he can lean into the ball striking. The short game spots are a lot easier.
If you need your short game here, you're probably screwed anyway. I'm not doubting a clutch par save in a big moment to keep momentum on the weekend, but if you need that, then it doesn't even matter, right?
Right. So those two, and it might be hard to bet them both. It would change the way my card would normally like to look, but those two in the bottom of the 20s have me very interested.
Yeah, I'm always interested in both of them.
Big gap then from Max Homa to Sam Burns, 28-1 to 35-1. And this is where just everyone else is, Geoff, because 35-41 is Sam Burns and Sung Jae Im and Abraham Ancer. Then you throw in Tommy Fleetwood and Daniel Berger, Taylor Gooch, Tony Finau, and even Webb Simpson making an appearance. This is where our odds makers just said, have everyone else. Good luck.
Part of me thought about literally making like 4 or 5 picks this week. All of them, maybe the names you just said, like just pick from this range. This tournament has also been really kind to the front end players in this sort of pack, like in front of 60-1 between 30. Maybe the reason I've been quite successful here is the winning range stays in the range. The prices I like to swim around. Abraham Ancer will probably be a bet of mine this week, Rick. The 40-1, the game sort really is coming around. Daniel Berger is an interesting one. This seems like such a high number on a player that had a bad week last week and is coming off an injury. So there are questions, but it's a big number at a course that works for him. And I'm an ultimate Fleetwood stan. So coming off last week, like I'm prepared to ride the momentum. It won't require. Before the Byron Nelson, we spoke, that'll be too many birdies. This one might be just enough birdies required for a guy like Finau to finally pull it off and continue those great vibes. So that's sort of where my head is at with those guys in the 40s.
Yeah, I think Fleetwood, hat tip to Tommy Ladd, who's been awesome, and then Berger are kind of the two most intriguing out of that range. Then we get to our defending champion, Jason Kokrak, which you should shop, 33-1 or 48-1, depending on where you're looking. Billy Horschel, Davis Riley, Gary Woodland's got a couple of good finishes here. And then that name we mentioned earlier, Mito Pereira, the heartbreak from last week, 50-1 for this week's Charles Schwab.
Yeah, so Woodland, a name I'm always circling. Davis Riley did like more than enough last week. I actually thought Friday night his stats looked as good as anybody, and if things got hairy, he would have been in a good position. Cam Young, I think, sort of took that role last week, but I really do like Riley coming into this event. Mito, an interesting one. We spoke about it earlier. You got to play a bit of armchair psychologist. It's so funny. Like, there's momentum for Fleetwood for how he finished. We don't like how Mito finished. Like, not all finishes are the same by how it relates to how you want to bet the guy the following week. If things went another inch for Mito, you'd think 50-1 was outstanding. It didn't, and now you gotta question it. That's part of the mind warp we play.
Yeah, it is a bizarre, cruel thing that we do each and every week. Two names that I want to point out longer than this because they're of interest and of significant disparagement or I guess disconnect in the odds here. Harold Varner III, as short as 40-1, as long as 65. And Geoff, I see Bryson DeChambeau at DraftKings Sportsbook at 100-1. Other places offering him at 50. Bryson DeChambeau at 100-1. Any strong thoughts on those two?
Okay, so Varner, like, I just want him to make the putts. Like, you almost can't even look. You almost even want to like stat cast them because it just hurts to follow. You almost just need to see a score at the end of the day. You do not want to track it. Could be bad for the health. Bryson, I love it. It could be worth the shot. There's just too many great players here this week for me to think someone can show up out of form and win, Rick. And that's sort of why in front of like north of 60, in front of 100, there aren't many names, especially that have my attention, but two that do. I have bet Kevin Knott 60-1. I thought it was a good number on this course. It's a course that plays to all sorts of skill sets. Knott really does love it here. So I'm willing to back Knott. Was on him when he won here a few years ago. And the small greens, and I'm not quitting Mav McNeely, Rick. I not like I bet him each week, but I do like how this course can set up for Mav. I bet him at the Byron Nelson before the PGA. Was fine. I mean, winning is hard. He played solid. And I think this one could set up, and I'm staring at those 75-1s.
Yeah, I like the Kevin Na one. He's been much improved on approach play as of late. My best case scenario for Bryson, he gains 2 strokes off the tee. He looks rusty around the green. He misses the cut, and we get like an 80 at Muirfield Village next week or something like that. That's my.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, exactly. Just rev the engine, get some things out, get some wild things out of there, and then I'll be back in. You're probably right in foreshadowing. It will take probably one start for me to be willing to bet him, even if the one start is bad. But I just want one out of the way.
Yeah, he's got to get some reps under the belt. Anything in the triple digits? You talked earlier about how that sweet spot has kind of been in front of the 60s. Are there any wagers to be made kind of much further down this betting board?
I mean, the great Stuart Sink angle can't be ignored. A quality major performance. He's followed that up maybe better than any player in like modern history who isn't like a really high-end player in playing well after majors. So you got to give credence to that one, Rick. Going even farther down, sort of guys like Aaron Rye are still kind of, lurking. And he was 150 earlier. I've lost it here. I had it written down.
200 now, Jeff.
Yeah. Troy Merritt. I mean, just for the grid, 50 at DK, 110 at FanDuel. I don't know if I'll be betting the soul patch at 50 or 100, but it just shows you tremendous disparity. And on the way out, like I was wrong at the Nelson because I said there are just too many high-end players here for someone from the pack to get all of them. In the end, KH Lee did. He nipped JT, he nipped Decky, he nipped a Spieth, he nipped all the great players in that event, or at least a trio of the best. And for someone to win this week, I honestly think they'll have to do something similar in terms of what they'll be up against on Sunday.
Of all the guys that I thought could have successfully defended their title, KH Lee would have been pretty low on the list, and he got it done. So very, very well done there. Okay, Jeff. Well, listen, we've got a great golf course. We've got a course we've seen basically like 75 years in a row. We've got a deep field, and as of right now, everybody's kind of hanging tight. I don't think we're going to get any more WDs. Let's hope that stays the same, and we're just gonna sprint from here to the next major championship, and it's going to be a hell of a run from here on out, bud.
And I'm excited. Muirfield, the Canadian Open is finally back, Rick. So yeah, it's a nice little compact run of nice events before another major is here. Fantastic. Let's do it.
Awesome stuff. Geoff Fienberg available on Twitter at GFienberg17. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been your odds checker betting preview for this week's Charles Schwab Challenge. Good luck. Don't forget, for a chance to win $500, just subscribe to Odds Checker on YouTube and comment on any video leading up to Memorial Day. That's the Memorial Day promo. Best of luck this week. Talk soon.